I encourage questions if you have them, either by way of the chat or you can unmute yourself. I believe everyone has the ability to unmute themselves and ask questions. But I'm going to turn the time over to Julie O'Neill, who is from McKinney, and she is going to talk to us today about how you can Canvas. So welcome, Julie, and I'll give the time to you, and I'll let you know via the chat, like when we're at like 10 minutes and 5 minutes, just to kind of keep you aware.
Okay. Sounds good. I'll have my chat open on the side so I can see. Okay, so one of the things that we kind of struggled with at my school, so it could be something that everyone's struggling with, is we had to learn this new program, and then we had to kind of figure out every little detail that went into it. So I was trying to streamline things and make things really easy. I like things to all be in one place, and I like them to be super easy. So what I did was I set up so that I had all of my grades in one place. And so that was one of the things that I wanted to talk about today. So the way that you set up for grades so that you can grade everything on Canvas, even if it's a paper activity or if it uses a different website. Let me just move this out of the way. So if I wanted to add an assignment on here, then any assignment or quiz or discussion will be something that will be graded. So if you do a text header, which is like a little header that just tells them, like maybe there's no school Monday and you want them to know that, or a URL or an external tool, it'll grade it differently. So I will go into assignment. If you do a page, it does not have an assignment that goes with it. So I'm just going to create one here, and then I'll show you what I do to make sure that it has a grade attached to it. So if you don't attach a grade and you grade something, it makes your gradebook look crazy. So you have to make sure that you put a points level. So in our district, they did not give us the ability to change the quarter, and I really wanted to separate things into quarters. So I changed my assignment group. I just added a new group and I made it quarter 2. I have a quarter 3 on here. I changed all of my assignments from quarter 1 to quarter 1, and then I have quarter 2 social studies because I teach social studies as well. So if I wanted to add a new group, it's super easy. You just type in and that group will be on there for you to choose from. So when I add points for daily work, I make them 1 point. They usually have 2 or 3 stations, so then they can have a few points a day. And then I'll choose quarter 2. You can choose to not count something towards the final grade if you're giving like a pre-assessment and you don't want it to count on their grade. And then if you don't have something that they're going to submit, you can say no submission. You can do it online if they have something where they're doing it on paper, or if you're using an external tool, you can load that in here. And I'll talk about that in a minute. So that is how you would make sure that you have stuff in your grade book, because you want to be able to separate it out so that you can see what their grades are. So that's how you just basically create an assignment and make sure that it has a point value, so that when you go into your, if you say that you don't have anything that they're going to submit, then it doesn't give you anything up here to do the grader on. Okay, and then we'll publish it, and then we'll go into, I don't know why it's doing that. Anyway, it's being weird. I can show you grades that I already have. So when you look at your grade book and you have it separated by quarters, you can see it in your grade book and you can see the total for the year. So when you go to grade book, you can look at the individual view or the history there, the actions if you want to import or export the grades, and then you can arrange them by assignment name, by module, by points. I like to filter it by assignment group and module and sections. I don't have any groups for students set up right now, but that would be something great for you to do if you have RTI or if you need to have them work in small groups on anything. So I have my assignment group set up and I have my modules. So I'm going to look at assignments for Q2, and I could look at all the modules. I break everything down into weeks. So week 13 is right now and it's on here. So I can just look at that week and see if there's any students that haven't done their work, and then I can look at the sections of students that I have as well. So when I look at Q2, it's going to show me the Q2 grades here, and that's their grade for everything that they've done so far in the quarter. I can look at Q1. I don't have anything for Q3. I have my Q2 social studies. Assignments is what I started with, and then I changed everything to Q1, 2, and 3. And then you can look at their total grade overall for the whole year. And then when you go into the assignments, you can do it here and you can see the individual assignments that have been created and you can grade them, or you can click on Speed Grader and you can go through and it'll show you their submission if you have it set up. This was a Google Doc that I embedded in the lesson so that it could be graded right here, and then you can just go through and grade all of your students this way. So that is everything on the grade book. So I'm going to show you how you can use an external tool so that it's graded on your Canvas, which is awesome. So I'm going to go back to that assignment that I created. It always does this. When it's loading, it'll pop up a little bit and then I have to wait, and I'm not patient enough. And if you have questions, just stop me. I'm used to that with the kids. I have 1 online class and 2 in-person classes. And I teach 5th grade science and social studies, if you couldn't tell on here. So when you have an assignment for them, you can type the instructions here. If you want to have them work on a Google Doc, but you don't want to have to go into Google and check their grades there and then put them over on Canvas and have a grade book separate, you can actually put all of your tools here. So when you click on Find, you can find a Google assignment, and sometimes it doesn't want to load the first time, and then I just close it and open it and then it loads. And then you can click Find Any Google Assignment, or you can create a Google assignment here on Google Docs. This is where all of your Google Docs or slides will be. So you can choose a Google Doc or an assignment, and it shows up. Let's see. I'll just type in. I usually put my name on the beginning of it so that I can get to stuff quicker. Okay, so then when you select it, I don't usually load it in a new tab because then it's kind of confusing for the kids because it opens a tab up here. I just keep it in Canvas, so everything is just on Canvas. So your instructions would be here if you had any instructions. They can read their assignment and fill it in here, or they can click on the link here. When they do a Google Doc, there'll be a blue submit button. They just submit it and it actually connects to Google, and all of their stuff is right on Canvas for you to grade. So then you have everything in one spot and you can just grade it really easily. Let's see, another thing that is really cool is it does the same thing with Nearpod. So if you guys have started using Nearpod, or if you're afraid to use Nearpod because it seems like it's a lot of work, we can actually like really, I'll show you how to really easily like find a Nearpod that you don't have to create on your own. Because sometimes that can be daunting to use a new Canvas and this Nearpod thing everyone's talking about. So this is my library. I have a bunch of things that I've chosen. A lot of the stuff that I find comes from Nearpod. There's not a lot of stuff from my actual district or from my school. So I'll type in something that we're learning about and it'll show me the results. And then I want to just break it down to 5th grade and science. And then it's going to show me the results on there of anything that has been talked about or anything that's been added to 5th grade science. So some of these look a little bit young for my class. So I'm going to choose something that looks like it might be more appropriate. So when you click on it, you can actually just preview it and see if it's what you're looking for. This one has a bunch of different things that are similar that it's showing you on the right. And then you can go through and say, okay, this makes sense. This is exactly what I'm looking for. And then you can add it to your library. If you don't have Nearpod set up, I actually have a video on how to add that as well on my website that I put on my Canvas page. Let's see. Oh, our district has a Nearpod account, so I'm not sure how that would work. But if you aren't sure how to install it, you can click on it here. You can click on Nearpod and install it this way. You add app. You'll have to get your consumer key and shared secret, but you can actually Google how to do that. So I'll show you how. So I added that Nearpod to my library. So if I want to see it, I can go into my library. Let's see. And I'll see it right here. How does renewable energy work? And then I can go into that module and find that lesson that I want to add it to. So instead of that Google Doc, I'm going to change it to this Nearpod. If I'm like, well, I don't really know if I like this, let me change it. So I'm going to click on Find. I have like a million Nearpods on here because when I first started, I think I added it too many times. So I always have to go to my bottom one. But it's going to show the lessons that are in my library. So I can either choose live participation if I want to go through the lesson with them, or I can choose student paced. I like to choose student paced and use it as a station activity. And then I'm not going to load it into a new tab. And I will save it. And then you'll see that the Nearpod is right here for them to do. And what's great is they don't have to do anything extra. It'll have their name on it because it's in their Canvas. And then as they go through, once they're done, it will just submit it to you automatically. There's no extra step for them, which is great because sometimes that can be a challenge to get them to actually like submit something. So I'm going to show you what that looks like in student view, and then how it will look in the gradebook. So I can actually do it and then do it as a student, and then you can kind of see what does that look like when you grade it. You can actually see all of the different things that they type in. So if they think you're not really looking at it and you can't really see it, they're going to be unpleasantly surprised. So here is science and social studies again. And here is that assignment. So as a student, I can only see what my teacher has open or has published on here. So I'm going to go to assignment 1. And you can see that this is that Nearpod, and it is just right in Canvas embedded. It says test student because that's who this is. So if it was my student, it would have their name. And then I can go through this as a student, and I have my Nearpod set up so that they have to answer questions if there's a question. Okay, this is like a little thing that opened up for them to look at. This is going to talk about the next thing. So I can go through and look at all the things. Like this says, wait, it looks like the page is blank. You have to submit a drawing because my kids have to submit something. So drawing is pretty easy for them. There's a little drawing tool. They can make it bigger or smaller, and they know how to do all this kind of stuff. So when you start working on this, it'll put the instructions down, and you can put them back down if you forgot what you're doing. You can listen to it.
Draw 2 potential sources of renewable energy for the city in this picture.
Okay, so if you're not sure how to do that, and then you can go back to your Nearpod slide. So I have a lot of students that need stuff read for them, so this makes it really easy. Okay, so now I'm just going to kind of click through. I've already finished it because it brought me back to my home page. So now I'm going to leave the student view, and I have SpeedGrader up because now I have it published and I have grades for it. So I'm going to click on SpeedGrader. The only student that has submitted this is the test student, which is me. And then when you look through, you can see, okay, their participation wasn't great. They didn't do the test. You can see what they answered. The drawing I did is like super light for some reason. It was like on a light thing, so you can see it, but you have to like really look. And then you can see that they did not answer this question. So when you go through, you can say, well, they didn't really do anything, so I'm going to give them a 0, and then they can go back and redo it if they need to. So that's how you would see it in your actual SpeedGrader, which is great because you can actually see the whole Nearpod. And it's the same way with a Google Doc or a Google slide. You can see exactly what they posted. And then it makes it really easy for you to go in. And so if you just want to look at, let's say you just want to look at one student. I actually pulled students today and showed them their grades and showed them where they have zeros so that they can say, they can go back and do the work for those, because progress reports are coming in a week and a half. So when you go through, you can see if there's a line, that means that it's something that you did not grade yet and they did not submit anything. If it has a 0, that means you graded it. That's the thing I just graded, and they got a 0 because they didn't do the work. So there's a lot of lines because this is just the test student, a lot of things that they haven't done. If you see, like in my regular grade book, you can see that so if you look here, you can see that there's a grade here. When it's green, that means that this is a resubmission. So I'm not going to be able to do it here. I'm going to have to go to the actual SpeedGrader itself, whoops, and do it that way. Sorry, I hit a different tab. Because they want you to look back at the assignment and see what grade you want to give it. But when you see a little book like this, it means that has been submitted and it is ready for you to grade. If you see lines, then you know that those students hadn't submitted it. So if I am waiting for students to kind of turn their work in, and I just want to easily know when they say, well, I turned it in, I can see here that they did or did not turn it in. And if I see that they're on something else, like a bonus activity, and they didn't turn in their work, then I can say like, hey, you did not submit anything, and then they have to go back and submit it. It's easy for students to see their grades as well. On the grades, if you have it visible, I turned some of the things off because I don't want all the students to be able to go in there, because they don't need to go in and see everything separately like that because it's too confusing. So if you don't want students to be able to go in and see everything separately, you can just go to navigation, and you can disable or you can move things around if you want it in a different order. And then once it's disabled, you can still see it on your end, but the students won't be able to click on it on their end. They can still do all of the things that are here. They can still take quizzes, they can still go to pages. They just won't see it on their sidebar. So when you are in, oops, I'm not home. When you're in student view, I have mine set up so the students can see their grades, so they can see what they're missing and what they need to go back and work on. And it's easy because they know that everything is in the same place. So even if they do something like Monday, we had no internet and no SSO and no Canvas, and so it was a challenge. So I needed to give them work in person, but my online class, I had them do this on Tuesday when we did have internet. So they were able to go back in. I scored all of my in-person students because they did this assignment, but they did it in person, and then I was able to score my online class as well. So you can see, if you go back through, you can see all of their second, their quarters from before. They can actually go to their module or to an assignment group, and they can see their stuff in their assignment group as well. So when it's just loading. But when you look, you can see it in the assignment group. So if they want to see just quarter 2, they can see just quarter 2 together. If they want to see just the module, which would be like week whatever is how I do it. If you don't do it that way, then they would see it however you set up your modules. I set it up this way so that when it's in the grade book, I know exactly what it is when I click on it, or when I kind of scroll over it and I know, okay, well, that was week 13. It was a Tuesday. That student has alpha. They're not here. That's our gifted program. So I can kind of think about it that way. So when you go through as a student, you can see all of the things that you're missing. You can click on it and it tells you you didn't do anything. There's no preview here. And you can look and say week 10, Thursday, station 3, go into your modules, go down to week 10, go to Thursday, station 3, and then you can do that work, which is a Nearpod. So then they can go back and they can complete it. I leave all of the modules for the quarter open and then let them go back and finish work because they're 10 and sometimes stuff doesn't work or sometimes it takes them longer or whatever, and it doesn't really, I feel like they should be able to go back and do it. If it's a test that I've given them or a pre-assessment, I usually do not let them go back and do it. So let's see what else. All of the things, okay, let me show you another way to add things to your assignments. And these are just kind of like basic things that I figured out to make my life easier. And a lot of times I will just go and Google something if I don't know how to do it. So on assignments, you can only use one external tool at a time. So if I have a Nearpod, I can't add a Google document also. I can have just one external tool, but you can add things up here. And like, let's say you want to say, I want you to watch this Discovery Education video. And, or if you don't have Discovery Education at your school district, or you have BrainPop or whatever you have that's added, you can say, first, I want you to watch this video. You can find a video that you like about whatever you're learning. I have that Nearpod is about renewable energy, but you can put whatever you want on here. It's going to give them the link. And then when they go into it, and they click on the video, so you probably want to have some directions, like watch this video and then do the Nearpod, something like that. But you can see that it pulls the video up right in Canvas, so they aren't having to leave Canvas to do anything. And then that's the video that they would be watching. And then they can go back into, let's see, the assignment, and they can do their Nearpod activity. Let me see, is there anything that you guys are wanting to know how to do that you're not sure about that I can show you? Because I do have, it's just like a lot of information all at once, and it might not be the info that you necessarily are curious about. So is there something that you're curious about on Canvas that I can tell you how to do or show you how to do? Okay, so with the quarters, and show me, okay. All right, so with the quarters, if you go into your module, so I have week 13, which is right now, which is our quarter 2. So when I go to any of these lessons, I will have it as, oh, this is a thing, so it's like a, I grade, if it's a station, I do it as 1 point. It makes it easier for me to kind of keep track of who's done the work and who hasn't done the work, and it's just a daily grade. So when they do a test, like they did a test today, I made it worth 10 points because there was 10 questions. So it's really up to you. But what I like to do is I like to have the assignment group so that when I look in my grade book, it shows all of the assignments in quarter 2 and what they've done, all of the assignments for social studies and what they've done. So I changed the assignment group, and I do have this, I think, on my website with step-by-step instructions. So I changed the assignment group so that when I look in my grade book, I can show them, and they can actually see in their end too. They can go down to the bottom and they can see quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4, and quarter 2 social studies. So when I look here, this is only the assignments that I added to quarter 2. This is all of the assignments that were on quarter 1. There's no assignments for quarter 3. So when I go, I have all of my regular assignments, and I have quarter 2 up here. So it's only going to show me quarter 2. And I did that over here by the view and just how I filtered it. So my assignment groups are filtered there. So when I go into quarter 2 and I look, I can see all of the assignments that they've done. And then like today, I'll have to change this because they haven't taken that test yet. So today you can see their test is out of 10. So something bigger like a test, I'm going to do it out of more points if that's what I want to do. So that's how I see their grades. So when you look at like an individual student, it shows you, let me wait for it to load. So it shows you they can see this and you can see this at the very bottom. It shows you their grades. So out of the things that I've graded for quarter 2, I've only graded 2 assignments for my test student. They only did 1 of them, which was that thing the Nearpod you just saw. So if this is a student that maybe goes to somewhere twice a week and they do not have to do their assignments, like if they go to Alpha or Gifted, so the total grade, no, I don't worry about the total grade because that's for the whole entire year. They can focus on what is the quarter right now. So if you look at the assignments, if it has a line on it, it does not count in their grade. So if you don't go in and put a 0, it won't change their grade at all. So if there's someone that is not there, like I have Alpha students that go twice a week, Tuesdays and Wednesdays, we can't take off points because they weren't in our class doing the work because they were doing work at Alpha. So I would just leave the line there for them, and then it wouldn't change their grade at all. But once you put a 0, that's changing the grade, and it's counting it towards the assignments that are at the bottom. So that'll change it here. So if they're an alpha student, maybe they have 22 assignments. And if they're a student that's there all the time, they might have 39. So it just depends on how you want to set up your classroom. And you can set it up however you want, which is great. So I have it set up where I have the quarters separate, and then the total just tells me for the whole year. So at the end of the year, maybe I want to use that as my grade, or maybe I only want to look at Q4. So I'm going to show you how to embed a video again, a Discovery Education video. This also works with BrainPop or anything NBC Learn we have in our district, anything that you have as an external tool from your district that's provided, you're going to be able to do that. So when you're in your assignment, I'm going to edit. And like I said, I would put instructions here and say, you know, watch the video and then the Nearpod or worksheet or whatever you have. So when you, this is linked to the link already, so I'm going to remove it and then show you. You click on V, which says more external tools, and then you can choose any of your external tools. You can do BrainPop, the virtual, we have the reference library on ours, any of these things. So if you click on Discovery Education, I have it already linked to my Canvas. And so I can type in whatever we're doing and whatever video I want to look for. I clicked energy, and then you can just click the embed. So if you want them to look at this energy channel, if you want them to look at this video, whatever you want, if you want to do it by grade, if you want to do it by type over here, you can find whatever you need. And it doesn't have to just be science stuff. It can be anything. Whoops. So I want to embed this. So you just click embed, and then it just adds it as a link right there. And that will be where they can click, and then the video will just pop up here. So let me show you when you add a Google Doc, because I think that this is the thing that I learned the most recently, and it was like a game changer for me. Your external tools might be different. Like when I looked at the Canvas for this course, it looked a little bit different than the Canvas for a different class. So if I look at something that I've, yeah.
Let me interrupt real quick.
Go ahead.
Just to provide some clarity for those of you that may be seeing different things. We do have a newer version of the rich content editor. And some districts have opted to not go that route yet. And that's one of the great things about Canvas is that your districts have the ability to decide, do we want to release certain features yet? Do we want to train on those features before we release it to the wild? So there's a lot of value in that. So in the case of the differences, if you will, between the course that you're seeing on the screen and the one that we actually that we have here in the Texas Users Group, that has a new rich content editor turn on. So instead of the V dropdown, you would see what would look like a plug. And that indicates that external tool, and that is where that will live. So just to provide some context there.
Yeah, and that was like, I had to kind of play with it when I was adding stuff on here. So I have a Google Doc right here that's called Types of Energy. So I'm going to use that one so that you guys can see it as, so that's one that I created in Google, and then you can see it, how it looks when the kids have to type into it, because I think this is really cool. So instead of this Nearpod, I am going to find my Google Doc cloud assignments. So this links to my Google Drive. And then I'm just going to type in types of energy. and see, okay, this is the one that I made November 3rd. That's the one I want. I'm going to submit. I'm going to select, and then I'm going to save. And then what's great is this automatically makes a copy for every student. So when they click on it and they start working, it's going to make a copy for them. So this is what I already started working on because we did this as a class, but this was for my online students. And so once they click, they can type, whoops, they can type right here. And then mine would show all of the kids, but when they type on it, it's only going to be theirs. Or if they can't really see it, sometimes Google Slides, it's like really, really tiny. They can click on it. They can type right in here. I'm just going to write this real quick. And then when they go back into their assignment, it shows it here automatically. It's linked. So they can click submit, and this has all of that same information. And when they submit it, they can actually submit it more than once. So the submit button will stay there. So let's say you have something that you want to continue to work on over the whole week or whatever. They can submit it to you so you can see, like, okay, are you working on this thing that I assigned you and want you to start working on? That you can just ask them to submit it right then. You can check it and say, okay, yours is blank, or yours looks great, or whatever you want to do. I like to have an accountability piece every day. And so for everything that they do for me, I have something where they're going to be held accountable. So that's why my stations look like 1 point, because there's three a day. And I want to make sure that they're working on those things and getting credit for it, but I also want to be able to see what they did and that there was something. So it might be a discussion post. So when you have a discussion, let's see. I want to make sure I'm not missing any questions. Okay. Oh, my thing is wanting to be slow now. I'm going to go into modules because I like to add everything into modules so it's all in one place and I know exactly where it is. So when I go into modules and I want to add an assignment or a page or a discussion or whatever, I'm just going to click on that and I'm going to say,
Sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you.
Siri thought I was talking to her. And I'm going to say new topic, energy, and I'm going to add the item. And then I'll go down. It always adds to the bottom. So if you add a new module up here, like a whole new module, it's going to be at the very bottom of all your stuff. When you add an assignment to a module, it'll be at the bottom of that specific module. So I'm going to edit this and show you that you can actually make these assignments as well. So I don't like having the discussion post where there's no feedback from me. So I might say, watch this video or complete this assignment or look at this picture and tell me all the types of energy that you see. And then I'm going to say the options that I want here. So I like the users to have to post something before they can see everyone else's replies. I like it to be graded. I don't necessarily like them liking stuff and posting on other people's stuff because I don't want it to get they get wild. I can make stuff a group discussion where they can talk and post on each other's things. But right now, the minute that a chat is opened up, they go crazy. So I would make that 1 point. You can display it however you want. If you want it to be points, if you want it to be a letter grade, just a complete or incomplete, it's really up to you. Okay, and then I would say quarter 2. And when I save and publish that, I'm going to be able to go up into SpeedGrader and see everybody's comments there. So it'll show me their comments here. And when you actually do have kids that posted, let's say you're on SpeedGrader and you're like, what in the world was the question that I asked? Because now I don't remember. It'll actually let you see the entire thread. So Canvas is like super user friendly. So you can look at the whole thread and say, okay, well, that makes sense for what I asked, or that makes sense for they replied to someone above them. And I think at first they didn't realize I could see all of their comments and on the discussion post because I had to go back and delete some and say, you know, you just typed the letter S 1,000 times and that's not okay. So you actually can go in and delete individual um, posts on here if you are not happy with how they look. Because sometimes, I don't know what you guys teach, but I teach fifth graders and they are crazy. So let's see what else is. Quizzes. Quizzes are also a super favorite of mine. Canvas has made this absolutely the easiest thing that you guys can do. It's amazing. So if you want to make a quiz on Canvas and add it to your grades, or you can give them a pre-test, you can make, yeah, I know that. You can make it something that you say that you want it to be ungraded. You can make it graded. You can choose to assign it to certain kids. There's times where you might want to have some questions read to them, but you don't want everybody getting the questions read to them. So instead of assigning it to everyone, you can choose who you want to assign it to. And here on the details is where you'll change anything on here and where you'll put your directions and where you'll change what type of quiz it is, how many minutes, how many points you want it to be worth, and when it's due, and all of that. And then on the questions is where you'll change your questions. What's really cool about Canvas is that you can go in and edit an answer, a possible answer. You can actually put a picture here, you can put a link here, you can do every single thing that you can do in the question, you can actually do on the answer choices as well, which is pretty cool because then it gives you a lot more options. You can do the questions as true or false, fill in the blank, multiple blanks, a formula, an essay, and then the ones that you need to grade, you can grade in SpeedGrader really quickly. And it shows up just like your other stuff in SpeedGrader. So instead of having to go back through and kind of figure out where is this stuff, you can just go in SpeedGrader and you can see their test. So if you look at this and you say, oh, I actually meant heart monitor and not stethoscope, and then you want to change that, you can go back into your test and you can just give everyone that question. Or if you noticed that something was weird, you can give them fudge points where you're going to give everyone a bonus point because you did something, didn't ask the question or something, whatever's weird. If there's a answer that you need to grade, it won't be graded by Canvas and it'll just say like you have 2 questions you need to grade and then you just go down and add the points there. I know for the fill in the blank, sometimes like if you say, I had a question where I was asking them about density and there was a beach ball and a rock and a crayon, and if they chose beach ball and they said the beach ball, or if they said the rock, or if they just said rock and it was different than how I wrote it, then it wouldn't show them as having it correct. So I just let them know, like, I'm going to go through and look, and the ones that are a multiple choice, obviously that's going to be correct. But if I go through and look and say, okay, you said the rock instead of rock and you got it wrong, and then I can change it that way too. So it makes it really easy because it's all in SpeedGrader and you can see exactly what the question was and exactly what the answer choices were. So that is another one of my favorite. Well, I really like using Canvas. I think it's really user friendly, and I would have thought like, oh, it's so much, but really puts everything at your fingertips instead of Google Classroom where it doesn't. I don't feel like it has everything all in one place like this does. Um, let's see. If you have a syllabus you want to add, you can do that. We don't have one in 5th grade. You can add files. So if you want to add something, like on my homepage, I have everything linked here. So when the kids click on this big picture, they can go to my Zoom for my online kids, or they can click here. I have all of their schedules right here. So if they click on their schedule, and the way that you can add that, these are all just files. So if you have a file that you want to add, that you want them to be able to click on, like a PDF or anything like that, or if you want this right here to take them to modules, any of the modules or quizzes, which on my homepage, I do have science and social studies. And when they click on it, it takes them into the module for that week. Even though once they're in modules, they can see any of their modules. So if you look on your files, you can add a file. And if you go all the way down to the bottom of the files, it says upload a new file. You can choose one from your computer. I'm just going to pick anything. This is just a PDF about energy. And then you have to click upload. And then it'll upload it right into your thing. So then when you save it, the kids can click on that, and then it saves it onto their computer as a PDF as well.
Julie, I want to add something
Yeah.
to that
Go
particular
ahead.
video there. For those of you that may not know this nifty little trick. First, next to the name of the file that she was showing, there was a little image of a paper with a magnifying glass. And when she selects that, it actually opens up the document and allows the students to be able to see that if they don't need it to be downloaded. And then also in that particular page, if you click edit, once that loads, if you click edit on the document again or on that page, and then you have your cursor somewhere in the middle of that link, and then click on the link again, click on the link icon.
The icon up here?
Yeah, so like put your cursor in the middle of that, in the middle of the, like actually select, there you go. Now click on the link icon. And then it brings up a box that allows you to decide whether or not you want the magnifying glass version of this, where the student has to actually click on that to get the preview to show up, or you can select the checkbox auto open the inline preview. And so for, like, let's say a syllabus that you upload, well, I want that to be seen by the students. That's a resource that I want them to have. And so when you save that after you've checked that box, it actually opens up that document on the page. So
now
the
this
student
is open on the page instead of them having to click on it.
Correct. So it just removes a barrier of will they click on it or will they not. I want them; they have to see this. That kind of approach. I just wanted to add that.
Awesome, thank you. Because obviously I did not know how to do that. So now look at me, I have an extra trick up my sleeve. So trying to think if there's anything else that I'm really like. Well, okay. So there was one cool thing, and I have like what, 5-10 minutes. So there's a cool thing that I found out how to do with the people in your class. So if you want to make small groups so that your students can collaborate, or that you can, so you can just assign things to certain students, and maybe you want them to work on stuff separately, or you want to do a group activity, but you only want like these kids to have this information, these kids to have this information, you can actually set up groups. So you just say add group set. You can name your group whatever you want. So maybe you want this group to be like the Southwest region. And then you're going to have some students are going to be doing the Southwest region. Then you'll have a different group where you want some students to be doing it. And you want them to be doing the Northeast region, you can set up a different group for that. Or if you have kids that are on RTI and they're tier 1, you can have an RTI tier 1 in your like homeroom class or your block 2 or whatever you want to do. So it'll change it that way. So you can do it where you just take this whole class and you split them into the groups that you want, or you can create the groups. So if you want to create your group, you are going to just add, oops, the students. Groups need to be created. Let's see. Oh, add the group here. This will be group 1. So this might be like my regions project, and then this would be the group. You want to have 4 kids in each group. So now when you add people to that group, or you can have all of your groups sitting there, maybe you know that there's certain kids that you are not going to be able to have in the same group. So when you have the option, you can say, okay, I want this one to go in group 2. I want this one to go in group 1. And then you can add them that way. And you can add yourself to all of the groups too, if you want to add yourself to the groups. And then it'll be where you can see it as a student as well. So that is how you can make groups on there. So once you set them up and you have some students in the group, you can visit the group homepage. So on the left-hand side of my screen, on the blue, it now says groups over here. So it shows me all of the groups that I have as a teacher. And then I can switch between the groups. I just have it set up as a big kind of group right now because I didn't add kids to all of them. But it will show the groups here, and it'll also have this icon for students, so they can click on their group really easily and go into whatever group you created. You can do announcements here, assignments, pages. You can do everything here, just like when you're in a regular Canvas, and then they can work on stuff together when they're all on here. They can all see the same things and be able to participate. You can have them doing discussions, conferencing, collaborating, but you just would have those certain students that you want to have in that group. So if you have, I set one up for my mom who teaches in a different ISD. She has a student that started, and he was homeschooled. She teaches middle school, so this was a 7th grader, and he was homeschooled his whole life so far, and he did not have really any teaching going on. He didn't know how to read or write, like literally not even his name, nothing. So not a learning disability, but like a disability just from not being taught anything. So she had to make a group and put just him in it so she could really just say, okay, you're just going to click on this. And then she could have the stuff read to him. She could have it super easy with the parent that's taking care of him now that wants him to be able to get on there and learn. And so then it's super easy to set up. It just says groups. That's all they have to click on if that's what you want them to do. Okay, let's go back into my class. Let's see. Anything else I can think of that's like a fun little trick? I did do on my home page, I made a page on how to Canvas for my students. So this was kind of like a little trick that I did because at the beginning I was having so many questions about how to submit something, how to record themselves, how to check their grades. And so as I had so many questions about the same thing, I just put a how-to on my page, and I really like to make how-tos for them. I use QuickTime. So all of the videos on my website, and I'll show you that in a second, they're all done with QuickTime, where I can do a screen recording and I can record my screen while I talk. So it's not me on the video, it's just my screen. And that's how I record tests for my students for district assessments and stuff like that, where I want to be able to record it. Thank you, Trevor. And I don't necessarily want like to record me, and I don't want to have to read stuff over and over. So let me show you guys my website so you can kind of see what those tools are. I added it to my Canvas page. It is a Google site, so I couldn't embed it here, but I do have the link on there. So it's just, how do I Canvas? It's the basic things that I was showing you on there. If you don't remember how to do it, it's like super basic stuff. So that's me. I'm super cute with my blue blocking glasses on that day. Using the gradebook to keep track of all of your assignments. And all of my videos I upload to YouTube. So when you click on it, it's already embedded in this site. Super easy to see how to do that gradebook that I just told you about. Modules, how to set up modules. Maybe that's something that you'd like to do that you haven't done. How to embed a Nearpod. Like I showed you earlier, if you don't remember all of those steps of how to find a Nearpod and how to embed it, how to make a quiz. And if your school district has Microsoft, you get a link to this class notebook. Class notebook was too challenging for my 5th graders, but it is an amazing tool where they have a virtual notebook. It's already linked. I can put the link into the chat. It's already linked on Canvas when you want to do a class notebook. So it's really cool. It's just like an interactive notebook where you as the teacher can control everything that the students see, and they can't see your stuff and they can't see each other. So it's great because it really gives them an opportunity to have a notebook online if you have just virtual students. And then I have some different things that I'm going to be having coming soon. SpeedGrader, I just did videos on how to use Aware. If you use Eduphoria and you use Aware and you want to have that the tests available through where you can do it through Canvas, but then give it. I'm going to have how to set up a BrainPop class if you have BrainPop at your campus, and then assignments and discussion posts, which I showed you a little bit of here already. So those are the things on my website to kind of see. And we just have 2 more minutes. I put the link, and so did Trevor, in the comments. I'm going to stop sharing and just see if anybody has any like quick questions. You have about 2 minutes. I'm gonna drink some water. And I forgot I was going to be on video today, so this is just how I normally look for my kids. Does anybody have any questions? Let me see.
Julie, I appreciate you going through and showing a lot of what you do and how you can really make this an experience not only for you as a teacher that makes things easier, but then also the ways in which you can leverage the tool that you have to impact student achievement, to remove barriers, to remove roadblocks that traditionally have been very difficult for students, especially at the age group that we're talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if we take that a step further, we're not even just talking about the students, we're also talking about the parents that support them. You know, you're talking about an age group that is becoming more increasingly self-sufficient, but still need that oversight and that help from their parents at home. But if you rewind just even a couple years from that, students, as great as they are with technology and as intuitive as they may think things are, and can move through, the parents at home get really stressed out. And so with some of the things that you're showing, you're providing that insight and that transparency that parents desperately need right now to help their students at home. So from your YouTube videos that you're showing in terms of how to do things, if you just take those kinds of models and you can use those as tutorial videos and even just include those in a little parent section, like teach the parents how to do the math that they forgot how to do, right? Like those kinds of things just really make a difference. And so I just think there's a tremendous amount of value there. So I really appreciate your time. in doing that. And again, thank you. This recording and a lot of the other resources are going to be included in the course that you guys, most all of you have accepted. So I just want to remind you of that. I'm going to need to end this Zoom room now because I need to start the webinar up. So I will see you guys all back in the webinar. And again, thank you for your time. Thank you, Julie, once again for presenting.
Thank you. Thanks,
And
guys.
we'll see you.